So far, so good, right? Hardworking girl from a battler family finds her calling in sport, becomes professional when she gets signed up to a team in Leeds in the UK, and while she's there, gets called up to represent her country, bringing tears of joy from the parents who no doubt spent years as her main support team as she pursued her dream. This is the sort of story that makes sport so inspiring. What more does it need? Don't answer that, because the ABC has answered it for you. What this story needs is some racism.
Being only the third First Nations athlete, to make it this far, it tells me, there are roadblocks, in the pathways we've got in place now. So I think what we can do is just really educate ourselves to see why we don't have these kids coming through, what's stopping them.
What's stopping them? That's a bit of a loaded question, isn't it? Of course, the implied answer, because this is the ABC we're talking about here, is white racism. Poor Indigenous kids can't get ahead because white folks are racist. The more honest answer, though, is that many of our Indigenous brothers and sisters can't dream of a better life, let alone pursue one, because of self-inflicted violence, dysfunction and despair. It's not white racism holding them back, but a lack of education, job opportunities and supportive families in outback so-called communities, some of which are violent hellholes that are out of sight and out of mind to woke academics and inner-city protesters. That footage of Wallam complaining about the lack of opportunity for Indigenous kids is so standard, so textbook, that I suspect she went along with it out of a feeling of obligation. I mean, she's an Indigenous international sports star now. Standing up against racism is part of the job description, right? And Wallam thought she'd found a gold example of it in Netball Australia's new $15 million sponsor, Hancock Prospecting, run by Lang's daughter, Gina Reinhart. A week after that report on the ABC, Wallam's mentor, former World Cup winning netballer Sharon Finnan-White, was quoted saying that Wallam wanted Gina Reinhart to, quote, denounce her father's words, make a statement in public. I think that would be a really good news story for Mrs. Reinhart, unquote. Well, Reinhart decided she would be the judge of what a good news story is and released a statement on Saturday explaining that there are more effective ways to help the Indigenous than through people who were more concerned with, quote, virtue signalling and self-publicity, unquote. Ouch. Hancock listed the many ways she already helps Indigenous people. Then, yesterday, she lobbed $1 million at Perth's annual telethon event to raise money for sick kids. Word is that Wallam is devastated that Netball Australia is now reeling financially and that this has brought unwanted attention to her. To be honest, I feel sorry for her. She didn't do anything worse than, say, Sydney Swans AFL star Adam Goodes did when he vilified a 13-year-old girl for a racist remark in 2013. The next year, he was named Australian of the Year, and a movie was made about his struggles against racism in 2019. Wallam, by contrast, is being partly blamed for sending an entire sport broke. It's an unpredictable road, playing the victim. Sports stars would be on much safer ground if they just shut up and let their playing do the talking.